It's been a while since we've put out an installment of this series here on the channel, so after Thanksgiving and everything that's happened in this off-season, we're bringing it back to discuss. Your Take Not Mine is a series where I turn to you, the viewer, to let me know some of your hottest takes around the NBA world, and I choose my favorite submissions and give you my thoughts on the topics. When a new episode is about to be posted, I usually make a community post here on my channel, like the one you'll see on your screen now, so if you want a chance to be included in a future episode, be sure to keep a lookout and submit your take when it's posted. That episode has a ton of interesting takes to discuss, but before we get started, it turns out about 68% of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so please, if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, because not only does it help out a ton, but I would also very much appreciate it. Now, with that being said, let's begin. The first take we'll be discussing comes to us from Nathaniel, and he says that despite Klay Thompson's injury holding him out of the season yet again this year, the Warriors are still title contenders. So last year the Warriors were plagued with injuries and the season was a bit of a wash, but after bringing in Wiseman in the draft and supposedly returning to health this year was supposed to be the year that everyone anticipated they get back to the top of the standings. But then the worst possible thing happened and Klay re-injured himself. With Klay, the Warriors definitely would have been in the hunt, but I was never completely sold on their ability to contend for a title because their depth is not as strong as it once was when they were making their finals appearances. Draymond Green's impact is just simply not at the level it once was, and while they did do well bringing in Kelly Oubre to replace Klay in the lineup, he just simply isn't close to as good as Klay is on both ends of the floor. Plus, they now have Andrew Wiggins in a big role, and I just don't see any team heavily featuring him in their offense that can compete seriously for a title. A lot of their rotation pieces are very young and inexperienced, like James Wiseman, Eric Paschall, Damian Lee, and Jordan Poole, and Steph Curry is going to have to carry a much heavier burden of the offense than he ever previously has for them to make a real push. In the West, the Lakers are looking as good as ever, the Clippers, dysfunction aside, still have a ton of talent, and teams like the Rockets, Mavericks, Blazers, Jazz, and Nuggets will still be in the mix. So for me, I disagree with the Warriors being serious title contenders this year, but they definitely should still make the playoffs. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from Ian, and he says that Al Horford is going to be a Fringe AllStar this year on the Thunder, alongside SGA, which will ultimately bolster his stock to the point where he'll be worth a first-round pick in a trade. So Horford's season in Philadelphia last year was pretty disastrous, to the point that in order to get rid of him, the Sixers had to accept an expiring contract in return, while also attaching a pick to him to get Oklahoma City to accept the trade. But being in Oklahoma City now, there is admittedly less pressure on him, and he will get back to his natural position at center. At his best, Horford was a highly impactful two-way player that brought a well-balanced ability to impact winning on offense with his post play, passing, and shooting, and then defensively, he could take dominant big men out of their games. But at this point, now that he's older, he has very clearly lost a step on both ends, and his days as an all-star caliber player are pretty much over. Last season, a lot of struggles for him definitely did stem from him being played at power forward, but even when he was able to fill in for Joel Embiid and actually did get to play center, his play didn't really improve all that much. Defensively, he's lost a step, and offensively, his efficiency that made him so good has taken a dip. I definitely like the chances of him having a bounce-back season to a degree, but his contract is still one of the worst in the whole league, and improving himself to be worth a valuable first-round pick just does not seem likely. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from James, and he says that Patrick Williams was the right pick for the Chicago Bulls at number 4 because they couldn't trade down to take him later. So the Chicago Bulls made a pick in the draft that left a lot of people scratching their heads, as they selected Patrick Williams from Florida State at number 4 overall. Williams is a player who physically has all of the tools to be great, as he's an absolutely explosive athlete with a strong frame and a quickness about him to attack the basket hard, but as an actual player, he's incredibly raw and unproven. He didn't even start a single game for Florida State in college, so the fact that he ended up being a top 5 pick despite not being able to earn a spot in a college starting lineup is very concerning, and his production of 9 points and 4 rebounds per game definitely necessarily don't jump out at you as anything special either, but at the same time, I do see why Bulls fans would be defending this pick. Teams in the NBA take swings at potential all the time, and Williams as a prospect is all potential, but the thing is that if that potential is never reached, then it's a gamble that wouldn't have been worth taking. The team needed a wing player, and they still need playmaking, so I personally believe that they should have taken Deni Avdija, but now with the dust being settled on the situation, the Williams pick probably isn't as bad as many originally made it out to be. The next take we'll be discussing comes to us from Munch, and he says that Ben Simmons will average a 20-point triple-double this year because of the fact that he finally has the necessary spacing around him along with a good coach to get the most out of him. So with Ben Simmons, he often gets slated by fans because of the fact that he doesn't shoot, but the fact of the matter is that in almost every other aspect of the game, he is great, especially when it comes to playmaking. Ben is one of the best passers in the entire NBA, and last year, he led the entire league in three-pointers created off a pass, which, when you consider the amount of poor shooters around him, is an incredibly impressive feat. Now that he has ample shooting around him with the additions of Steph Curry, Danny Green, and some rookies drafted to shoot the basketball, I absolutely would not be surprised to see his assist numbers increase even more to possibly double digits. Plus, with Al Horford out of the lineup and the team reverting to a more modernized small ball lineup, Ben, who already is a good rebounder, could creep up to double-digit rebounds as well, but the likelihood of him putting all of that together and averaging it for an entire season just does not seem that likely. He'll improve across the board for sure, but the triple-double average is incredibly difficult to pull off. And finally, the last take we'll be discussing today comes to us from Noah, and he says that the Christian Wood signing was the most slept-on signing of the offseason, and if James Harden and Russell Westbrook stay in town, then the Rockets will be contenders in the West. Early on, things definitely were not looking very good for Houston, as their two best players, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, both seemingly wanted out. But again, as the dust has settled and more time has passed, it seems like they might have been able to move past their issues, and both of them could definitely still stay to run it back. After failing with the small ball experiment last season, the Rockets brought in Christian Wood to hold down the middle, and I completely agree with Noah in that this was an incredible signing for them. Wood emerged in a massive way for Detroit last season after the Andre Drummond trade, and he got put in the starting lineup, averaging a ridiculous 23 points and 10 rebounds per game, while shooting 56% from the field and 40% from three in that span. Both inside and out, Wood is an enforcer who plays hard on both ends, and alongside the playmaking of Harden and Russ, he'll get more easy looks than he ever has while being able to space the floor for them as a shooter. Wood is the perfect fit alongside these two as a center, as he could possibly be, and barring any health issues, I do believe in the Rockets' potential as contenders with him in the middle. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you think about the topics we discussed today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.